Hey YouTube, Dan Ottawa here, and today is the start of Master League Premier Classic and Master League Open. So I'm going to have two videos today. In this one, I'm going over the Master League Premier Classic rankings and teams. And this is actually quite an easy meta because it is somewhat limited in this Pokemon, which could be a good or bad thing. So what I'm going to do is go over these rankings. I'm not going to go over them too much in detail because I've got 4 tried and tested true teams that I've used. I'm just going to go over like how to use them and why they're so strong. So these are top 20 rankings. When I go over the teams, I'm not going to even bother going over the ones on this list that are on my teams. Dragonite, Gyarados, Snorlax, Garchomp, Togekiss, Metagross, Mamoswine, and then Swampert. Those are already on the teams that I've used, so I'm going to tell you why they're so wrong when I do that. The other Pokemon are interesting. So Florida's actually jumped to number 1 because it is a fairy Pokemon. And there's not a lot of like steel in this, right? Because there's Metagross and I'm surprised Excadrill is not on the top 20. So there's Excadrill and Metagross. They're the main steals in this. So for the most part, Florges is pretty free to roam. And when your top 3 Pokemon, Dragonite, double Gyarados, all have Dragon Breath fast move, it just makes it that much easier, right? So Florges is a pretty nice answer to everything that's not a steal. As I go down, Ursaluna now at 7 and 18. This is a community Pokemon that is now making its way into the Master League. I haven't used it yet, so I can't talk to it too much, but I think it's pretty tanky. Tackle and Thunder Punch. So high horsepower is the move. It's a ground type move, right? So it's great for the steals, and it's just in general a pretty hard hitting move. And then if you can't throw a ground type move at anything, which you can throw it at pretty much anything here except for the flyers, you have Thunder Punch, which is a nice answer to that. And Tackle got a buff, so it's pretty fast charging. So I think Ursaluna, a lot of people will test this out in the Master League to see its play. So just keep that in mind that you might see a few of those. Again, covers flyers, covers water with Thunder Punch, covers ground, steel specifically with high horsepower, and then in general, high horsepower is just a pretty strong hitting move for most of these other things as well. Go over all those. Chestnut. So we are going to have, when is Community Day? Community Day is this week. Yeah, Community Day is this weekend. So at least for the back half of this, you're going to have Chestnut, and I'm sure those who Home Slice and Yonkis, who always put out videos first, are going to put out the first one on Chestnut, Frenzy Plant, and Master League Premier Classic. It's interesting now because you're gonna have problems against like Dragonite and stuff like that. Frenzy Plant superpower, you just can't throw anything. But Swampert's on this list. Frenzy Plant is just gonna hit hard against everything in neutral situations, right? Snorlax and everything else on here. And then you're gonna have the sort of ground steel in Excadrill, which is gonna be everywhere. This will be a nice answer because you have like superpower and Frenzy Plant, which will do great in both situations there. So I think Chestnut's gonna jump up on a few teams. Machamp and Conkeldurr are on this list, and it's because specifically of Dragonite Double Steel, which will be the first team I go over. There's a lot of steel. Excadrill, Metagross, you still hit neutral in that situation with counter. Plus, just counters and Dynamic Punch and Counter Cross Chop will do well in most situations, just if it's neutral. So that's why Shadow Machamp is just so strong in this. Como as another Dragon type Pokemon. Again, a Dragon type Pokemon, so think like Dragonite, but except instead of superpower, it has a nuke of close combat, essentially, right? And it may be a little different in the stat products, but for the most part, fills the exact same role. And then Avalugg is another nice answer to your Dragonite and Gyarados with the Ice Fang Avalanche. And then Bisam Spam is nice just kind of as a faster move. So let's go over the teams, because there are 4 teams that I've tried and are tested, and one that is tried and tested since like season 1. Dragonite Double Steel, very easy. You pull out like a fighter or a water type Pokemon with Excadrill or Metagross, but I like using Excadrill as a safe swap because the Rock Slide Drill Run gets 5 mud shots to get Rock Slide Drill Run, so you're going to probably grab a shield back or at least do a ton of chip damage, punish it with Dragonite, come back in, and then Metagross will roam free in the back. I've mentioned multiple times, you can go look at the videos. If you have a Metagross with shield advantage, you're like going to win the matchup, right? It's such a strong Pokemon. This team got better because of superpower on Dragonite. Before it was kind of weak, not that it was weak, but it only had like Hurricane as the second move. So now with superpower, you have more coverage. You have a hard hitting, faster charging move. So this team is Titan, Trust, and True. Will do well. You will see it. And that is why I invented team number 2. As a direct answer to that, Togekiss, Waterfall Gyarados, and Garchomp. And that's basically, you got your Fairy. You could use Florges, right? Florges is probably a better version of this, of Togekiss, but I don't have one built up. So Togekiss is what it is. So you have Togekiss on the lead. And then you have, if you run into the team, they're going to switch into their Excadrill. You come in and punish it with Waterfall Gyarados. You can just farm right down. And then you get your Charmer back on the Dragonite. And then they're going to come with their Metagross. And you're going to get hit with a Ground-type Pokemon, right? Very easy. So if you're seeing Dragonite, Double Steel everywhere, run Fairy and this back line because you will just dominate it. If you're looking for a little more balanced team, so I was just testing out Pokemon, I think, on this team. Swampert, I think, Swampert's an interesting one because you're going to have Gyarados and Dragonite so high up, which you have really tough matchups against those two. But you do really well against like the Metagross and Excadrill lineup. So it's going to be hit or miss with Swampert, which is why I think I put on the lead. Plus, like, it'll do well against like just everything else, sort of. Not the grass, Chestnut anymore, but like anything that's like Garchomp, you can hit for neutral with Hydro Cannon. Anything you can hit neutral with Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon is such a beast of a move. This team is double weak to fighting in the back, but I don't think that's the. I don't think I played this as an ABB lineup. I may have to draw out a fighter. It's more Snorlax, which is the safe swap on this team because Magnezone is going to have trouble with your steals, right? Excadrill is going to cause it problems. Metagross is going to cause it problems to a certain extent. And then fighters, and then so it's kind of like a balanced team where Swampert will deal with all that. Swampert's weak to grass, and the steel in Magnezone will resist that. And then you have Snorlax as a safe swap because Snorlax is just bulky, body slam spam, superpower again, nice sort of coverage move there. You can run with Earthquake as well if you want. I've seen Earthquake as well, but that's just kind of like a balanced team. And the fourth team that I've used is, so the core of, this is Dragon Breath Gyarados on the lead. The core of Gyarados and Excadrill is going to be everywhere because, again, it just kind of covers each other's weaknesses. You're going to resist, like, you're going to be sort of weak to Fairy. You're not weak to Fairy per se, but Dragon Breath isn't going to do anything to Fairy, so that's why you have sort of Excadrill to deal with that, and Excadrill's going to be weak to fighting. You have a Flyer in the front to deal with that, so it's kind of like a balanced team. But again, you have Mamoswine ABB style team. You're weak to fighting with here because Mamoswine is also weak to fighting. But this is when Mamoswine had Bulldoze, and High Horsepower is now a better move for Mamoswine. So the Power Snow Avalanche for the Flyers, for the Dragons, a High Horsepower now for the Steels. Mamoswine was like my MVP because back in the day when it was just Master League, what is the equivalent of Classic, where you could also get legendaries in this, Mamoswine with Bulldoze, like you could beat Dialga level 40 straight up, just going Powder Snow Avalanche. Just going Powder Snow Avalanche, I'd be in straight up. So it's super strong Pokemon. I think it's going to have play in this meta. You just obviously need to keep away from fighters as your main weakness there. So those are the 4 teams. I'm interested to see what combo we're going to see. It's just going to be like, don't get too unique here. It's going to be some combo of these 20 Pokemon. Maybe someone gets spicy and goes like top 30, but for the most part, you got your Dragons, you got your Charmers, you got your Fighters, you got some Ice Pokemon, and then your Steels. Like it's going to be that. Meta is limited in the Master League Premier Classic. It always is. So it's basically going to be build a team around what you're seeing in your yellow range. That would be my advice. Anyways, that is it. Let me know below if you're playing this meta and what teams you are going to be using. Anything you could do. I mean, it's tough to do double Fairy in the back, given that like there's a ton of double Steel in the back. But Florges and Togekiss in the back, you could run something like that. Just depends what you want to do. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up and subscribe if you're new to this channel. And I will see you this afternoon for the Master League Open rankings and teams.